Hello, and welcome back to the channel. We're so glad you're here today. We've got a brand new story for you, so let's dive right in. My name is Ben, and for the past 8 years, I thought I had a solid, committed relationship with my wife, Sarah. We weren't perfect, but we had built something together, something that felt rooted in love, trust, and respect. In the beginning, things were wonderful. Sarah was always lively, affectionate, and we enjoyed our time together. I was proud to call her my wife, but over time, something changed, slowly, almost imperceptibly, and I didn't notice it at first. She started becoming distant. It began with fewer conversations and fewer moments when she seemed truly present. Then, the excuses started. She'd come home late, night after night, saying work had been overwhelming. She was stressed out, exhausted, and didn't have the energy to spend time with me, especially when it came to intimacy. I understood that work could be tough, so I didn't push her. Instead, I tried to be the supportive husband. I took on more of the household responsibilities, even though I was tired myself. If she needed space, I gave it to her. If she wanted to rest, I made sure she had the time. But no matter how much I did, I began to feel invisible in my own marriage. I'll never forget the first time I truly felt that something was off. We were supposed to have a simple date night, just a quiet dinner at our favorite restaurant. We hadn't gone out in a while, and I was really looking forward to it. But just as I was getting ready, Sarah called and told me she couldn't make it. She sounded tired, rushed, and stressed. Something came up at work, she said, sounding apologetic, but not really sorry. I have to stay late. At first, I didn't think too much of it. Work emergencies happen, right? Deadlines, last-minute meetings, all that stress. I told myself to be understanding, but as I sat there alone, looking at the dinner reservations I had made, something didn't sit right with me. The excuse felt too quick, too dismissive. I called her a few hours later just to check in and see how she was doing. No answer. I texted her. Nothing. I waited. Nothing. I kept telling myself I was overthinking it, that I didn't want to be the paranoid husband who jumped to conclusions. But deep down, something felt off. I just couldn't put my finger on it yet. It wasn't until nearly midnight when Sarah finally walked in. I was sitting on the couch, trying to look casual, but I could feel the tension building inside me. She sighed tiredly when she saw me and said, "I'm so sorry, Ben. Work was crazy tonight. I'll make it up to you, I promise." She came over, kissed me on the forehead, and before I could even process my emotions, she headed straight for the bathroom. The shower turned on, and I sat there, staring at the closed door, feeling hollow inside. I called out, "Do you want something to eat? I can whip up something quickly." From the bathroom, she replied, "No, it's too late for food." I let it go. I acted like everything was normal, even though nothing felt normal. The next day, as I sat in my car before heading to work, I remembered someone, Sarah's colleague, Julie, from the office. She had been at our wedding, and we'd had a few casual chats over the years. If Sarah was really buried under work, I figured Julie might have some insight. Maybe she could help me understand what was going on. I picked up my phone and dialed Julie's number, keeping my tone light. "Hey, I was wondering, could you help Sarah leave work a little early today? Just an hour or so." There was a brief pause on the other end, then Julie responded, sounding confused. "Ben, Sarah leaves at 5 p.m. every day." In that moment, my stomach dropped. My heart started racing. "Wait, yesterday too?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Julie replied, "I can't tell you the exact time, but she definitely left before 6 p.m. I felt like I'd been hit. Sarah had come home late the night before, saying she had to work late, that she was overwhelmed. But according to Julie, she had left hours earlier. I wanted to believe there was some innocent explanation, but it felt like I had just uncovered a lie. And now, I had no idea where Sarah had been. That was the question I couldn't ignore. That's when I made up my mind. I was going to follow her. I had to see it with my own eyes. No more second guessing. I promised myself that if I was wrong, at least I'd have peace of mind. I left work early that afternoon and parked near Sarah's office just before 5 p.m. I forced myself to stay calm as I watched the entrance. Then, just on time, she walked out. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. She didn't look exhausted or stressed. I slouched down in my seat as I watched her walk to her car. Maybe she was heading home. Maybe I was wrong. But then, as she drove out of the parking lot, she didn't take the usual route home. I put my car in gear and followed her. My mind raced with questions as I followed her. Every turn she made took her further away from home, and every rational explanation I tried to hold on to began to fall apart. After about 20 minutes, she turned into a quiet apartment complex tucked tucked behind some buildings, a place that seemed oddly private, as if it were somewhere you'd only go if you had a reason. I slowed my car and parked across the street, keeping my distance. Then I saw him. A man stood outside, leaning casually against the doorway, waiting for her. The moment Emily saw him, her entire face changed. The woman who had been too tired to even talk to me the night before was now glowing with energy, smiling like she hadn't a care in the world. She walked toward him like she couldn't wait to see him. They embraced, and that hug, it lasted longer than what was appropriate. Without missing a beat, she followed him inside. I stayed frozen in my seat, the weight of the situation settling on me. There was no denying it. She was having an affair. She had the energy for him, but none for me. For what felt like forever, I just sat there, staring at the door where they disappeared. The life I thought I had unraveling in front of my eyes. A part of me wanted to storm in there, confront them both, but I knew what that would lead to. She'd lie. She'd deny it. She'd cry and say it wasn't what it looked like, and I'd just be the one left standing there, looking like the fool. I'd give her the chance to twist everything into a lie I'd have to believe. So I waited. I watched the time tick by. 10 minutes, 20, 30, an hour passed, and she still hadn't come out. I realized that the marriage I thought I was working so hard to save had already ended. I was just the last one to figure it out. I took out my phone and tried calling her. No answer. I called again. Still nothing. A third time, and I was met with voicemail. I didn't wait any longer. I started my car and drove home without her. Later that evening, I heard the front door open. The sound of Emily dropping her bag onto the floor filled the house. She walked in like nothing was wrong, unaware that I knew everything. She stretched, letting out a dramatic sigh, as if she'd just finished an exhausting day. Work was crazy today, she said, kicking off her heels. Back-to-back meetings, and my phone was buried in my bag. I saw your call, but by the time I had a chance to check, it was too late to call you back. I didn't argue. I didn't ask for more details. I just said, it's fine. And for the first time, I didn't press. I didn't push for the truth. I just let her lie to me, and in that moment, I knew it was over. For years, I had been the husband who did everything. I was the one who cooked, cleaned, and supported her when she was stressed. I was the one who offered her a shoulder when she needed it. But that night, I stopped. I didn't ask her how her day went. I didn't make sure her favorite snacks were stocked. I didn't volunteer to help around the house anymore. For years, I'd been the one holding everything together, but now I was done. At first, she didn't notice. She was too wrapped up in her affair to realize the change. But a few days later, it was impossible to ignore. One evening, after I stood up from the dinner table without a word, she watched me with narrowed eyes. Is something wrong? She finally asked. I met her gaze, the truth burning in my chest. I didn't sugarcoat it. I didn't soften the blow. I just said, I'm just exhausted. That was it. I wasn't just physically tired. I was mentally drained from playing the fool. I was exhausted from holding up a marriage that had already fallen apart. She looked at me like she was trying to figure out what I meant. Maybe she expected me to say more, to spill my emotions like I usually did, but I didn't. I just walked away, leaving her standing there, unsure of what to make of it. And the most telling part, she didn't stop. She didn't admit to anything. She didn't end the affair. She just kept lying, kept sneaking around, pretending to be tired. Except somehow, she was never too tired for him. After thinking it over, I knew I had to end things. I couldn't keep pretending. I waited until she was deep asleep, and I took her phone. I opened her messaging apps, and there it was, her lover's name right at the top of the list. The messages were sickening. The way she talked to him, flirted with him, like she didn't have a husband waiting at home. I took screenshots, sent them to myself, and erased the messages from her phone. She wouldn't even know I had seen it. I wanted her to continue thinking she was in control. The final confirmation came the next day when I called her office again, this time recording the conversation. Hey, I just wanted to check. What time does Emily usually leave work? She mentioned she'd been working late a lot lately, I asked, keeping my voice casual. The woman on the other end paused before answering. No, she usually leaves around 4 p.m. We don't really do late shifts here, she said. That was all I needed. The truth was out. I saved the recording. Another piece of the puzzle clicked into place. With everything I needed, her texts, proof of her lies, the photos of her with him, I made my move. I filed for divorce and arranged for the papers to be delivered to her office. texts. I didn't have to ask when she received them. My phone started buzzing immediately. Missed calls, frantic text messages from Emily, but I ignored it. When I walked through the door that evening, she was waiting. Her hands were clenched into fists, her eyes burning with fury. "What the hell is this?" she screamed, holding up the divorce papers like she hadn't already sealed her fate. I didn't flinch. I didn't raise my voice. I just looked at her, calm and steady. "You tell me," I said, my voice controlled. Her rage faltered for a second, replaced by a flicker of fear. I let the silence stretch before responding. "I know everything." I kept my voice steady, unemotional. "The affair, the lies." She froze. Her lip trembled. Her breath hitched. But I wasn't falling for it. She was only sorry because she had been caught. "We can fix this," she pleaded, stepping toward me. I shook my head. A firm, unshakable no. I wasn't interested in fixing something she had already destroyed. "I already handled it," I said, my tone final. "We're done." She let out a loud sob, her body crumbling as if she had just realized what she lost. But that was no longer my concern. She made her choices. Now, she would have to live with them. The divorce was finalized. And after that, I walked away without looking back. At first, I won't lie, it was strange. 8 years of my life had been tied to someone who turned out to be a stranger. I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt. But the thing is, the pain doesn't last forever. As for the man she threw everything away for, I have no idea how that worked out for her. And honestly, I don't care. Maybe he stayed. Maybe he didn't. Maybe she's still trying to convince herself it was all worth it. But that's not my problem. The only thing I know for sure is that her life no longer intersects with mine. She reached out a couple of times, sending messages that started with, "I just want to talk," but I never responded. Left her on read every time. What was there to talk about? She made her choice. She chose him, and I chose myself. Now let's talk about the real reason I'm sharing this story, so you can learn from it. If you're going through something similar, or if you ever do, remember these lessons. First, if they say they're too exhausted for you, but energized for someone else, it's not exhaustion, it's rejection. I wasted months thinking Emily was just tired, stressed, overwhelmed. I made excuses for her because I wanted to believe she was going through a tough time. But the truth? She wasn't tired. She was tired of me. But she wasn't too exhausted for late night texting, secret meetups, or hotel rendezvous. If someone still finds the energy for someone else, but never for you, it's not burnout. It's a choice. Stop fooling yourself. Second, never confront a cheater in anger. Let them believe they've won while you dismantle their world from behind the scenes. When I found out what Emily was doing, I didn't explode. I didn't scream, throw things, or demand answers. I played along. I let her keep lying to my face while I quietly gathered everything I needed to bury her in the divorce. That's how you win. People expect drama. They expect fights. When you don't give them that, you stay in control. Let them think they're getting away with it. Let them dig their own grave. Then, when they least expect it, drop the hammer. Third, walking away is power, but making them regret betraying you, that's victory. There's nothing more satisfying than moving on without giving them another second of your time. Trust me, nothing haunts a cheater more than realizing they traded loyalty for temporary excitement, and it wasn't worth it. Emily thought she was upgrading, but in the end, I erased her, and that's what broke her. So, to anyone watching who's dealing with a similar situation, don't waste your time trying to fix what's already broken. Don't waste your energy trying to understand someone who doesn't value you. And most importantly, don't waste your self-respect begging for love that should have been given freely. Walk away. Let them drown in their own mistakes. That's it for today's story. If this helped you, or if you know someone who needs to hear it, go ahead and like, comment, and share. You never know. This might be exactly what someone out there needs to see. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button and turn on notifications so you never miss more shocking real-life stories like this. See you in the next one.